here's a few disciplines for me. I knew I wanted to be a writer. And so one of the disciplines was, let's start a blog. This was 20 years ago. I'm going to start a blog and I'm going to release something every week. I understand that in all things, and in every form of art, you're only as good as your practice. You could be gifted all day long. It doesn't matter if you don't put it into practice. And so I released a blog every week, probably for 8 or 9 years. And I jokingly tell people that the only people reading it was my wife and my mom. And honestly, my wife wasn't reading it. It was just my mom. She's like, I lived it. I don't, yeah. And I said,
I'm in all the stories. I don't want to read it.
I don't have time for that. I got small babies. But what it did was a couple of things. Of course, it honed my skill set, knowing that it was in the ether, knowing that it was online every week. I did my darndest to make it good. Because it was going to be there and theoretically forever, right? And so I became a better writer, but also I began to collect stories. And so then for me, what that became in those first books was, oh, I found my through line. Oh, these stories belong. And so, I don't whiteboard it on an actual whiteboard, but once I have a book, I'll have a folder for a book. And once I know my through line, I can literally, even now, we were talking about a book I'm working on now. I go, okay, I know what my through line is, or I know what it is that I'm going to run at, the main thing, the main theme. I'm going to go over here where I have stories where I've organized them very well. And I'm going to go, oh, this belongs. I know that some of this. So I already have the book's already partly written because I'm always writing. And so I can drop these things in, and that's for my own book. And so, yeah, there's a little bit of a system that I've put in place, but it's mostly built on you're writing, knowing, and this is why when I talk to people, I'm like, I've been doing it long enough now that I'll have days where it feels like nothing was done, but I know that I took a bite out of that elephant because I've done it long enough to know that maybe nothing got shook loose today, but my mind's always working on the problem, and tomorrow it's going to flow. Because the work I put in today. So yeah, for me, it was right. Be faithful if and where you can. The second thing, and then I'll let you, the second thing that I did get out of that, because I'm writing theologically, is eventually people did start reading and they would have questions or pushback. And that's hugely helpful for a writer because everything's communication. And so it's like, I can say this way and I won't step on these toes. Or if I do, at least I've done it intentionally.
Right.
I've done it lightly. I know that I'm stepping, and so because it's some of what I do is theological and sometimes pushing the envelope, right? Trying to pull some false idea we have about God off our lens. Because sometimes my thoughts about God are better than maybe someone's comfort level. So it's important to be able to know how to communicate in a way that provides handrails. The idea that, hey, I want to get you from the first floor to the second floor. I'm going to build a staircase as a communicator, and I need to provide handrails. I need to make that safe because we all know how to climb steps, but you ever climb steps without handrails? It's amazing. All of a sudden you feel this insecurity. And so how as a writer do I do that? And so that faithful writing week in and week out eventually will help me because you get pushback and you go, oh, what am I poking at? Let me explore that more.
Yeah. And then also, I imagine the style you've chosen helps to maybe sidestep some of those. You're addressing things that are sacred cows, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of folks. And so a more winsome conversational tone gets you around some of those things some of those resistances.
Yeah. If you're writing about a good father who doesn't turn his back, right, which is one of the things I've run at, you can do that theologically, and I can now, and I could then, and certainly can walk you through Scripture and walk you through the life, death, and resurrection of Christ. Like I can do that theologically, or we can just talk about that time with my son,
right,
where I can tell you the story, and a fun story about how much I love my son. And next thing whether it's anyway, I could get into stories, but yes, you're right. The storytelling makes room. That's what Jesus did. He would confront some ideas with storytelling, introducing who his father was to us through story.